The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
Sam Szmodics fired Derby County back into the Championship playoff hunt, with the only goal of the game at Fratton Park, plunging Portsmouth deeper into relegation trouble. The Ipswich Town loanee gave the visitors an early lead, coolly side-footing the ball into the bottom corner, after Pompey failed to deal with the corner. A poor defensive header from Jacob Brown dropped right to the unmarked striker, who had plenty of time to take a touch and tuck it home. The Rams were unlucky not to extend their lead, hitting the woodwork twice. Patrick Ajayimam saw his fierce first-half shot tipped onto the post, before Joe Ward crashed a free kick against the crossbar after the break. Derby boss John Eustace had to watch from the director's box as he served a one-match touchline ban, but he would have been pleased with his side's resilience. At the other end, third-choice keeper Richard O'Donnell, in for the injured Josh Vickers and the unwell Jacob Weidel-Zetterstrom, made a crucial save in the 70th minute to deny Milenik Ali. That stop helped the Rams snap a 3-game losing streak on the road and move to within 3 points of the playoff spots. For John Mousinho's Pompey, it was a deeply frustrating night. They slumped to a 4th straight home defeat, leaving them just a point above the drop zone, though they do have a game in hand. Incredibly, despite having 27 shots, they created very few clear-cut chances. Pompey dominated the ball in the second half but struggled to break down a resolute Derby defence, marshalled superbly by Matt Clark and Derry Merkin. Apart from O'Donnell getting down well to his left to save from Ali, the home side were kept at arm's length. Derby could have been out of sight earlier, with Nicholas Schmid racing off his line to smother a dinked effort from Ben Brereton Diaz in the first half. Seconds after Agyemang hit the post, Pompey raced up the other end on the counter, but O'Donnell was alert to deny Gus Caballero, proving why Eustace has faith in the 37-year-old veteran.
That's a perfectly accurate summation of Monday night. Pompey 0, Derby 1. But when you are a supporter who has been enduring what we've all been enduring for the last several weeks, you get irritable. You need to notice it in yourself. You mustn't kick the cat. Who was that footballer? There was a very funny cartoon in one of the humorous magazines after that awful incident. Remember Spot the Ball, which used to be in the newspapers? They would airbrush out the ball and there'd be a moment from a piece of football with several players depicted in the photograph, and they'd erase the ball and you had to put a cross on where you thought the ball was. I had a go a couple of times. No, obviously didn't win. It was quite popular. You always played it. Whenever the newspaper fell open at that page, you'd always have a look and go, I reckon it's there. Because it always used to be where you didn't expect it to be. Anyway, one of the humorous magazines, shortly after that awful incident involving, I think, a West Ham player, possibly, and they had him a photograph of him in a kicking motion, right? But there was no ball in the shot, but the caption was "Spot the cat," and it made me laugh. What I want to say is you get irritable, and you tend to metaphorically kick the cat when your team are doing what we're doing at the moment. And I found myself getting annoyed during that BBC match report because they started using Americanisms, and I don't like that. Football is our game, and we don't want them using American phrases. You know, the Americans talk about a game being nip and tuck. I've never liked that. I don't know where it comes from. I think it's baseball, but anyway, it's not got anything to do with soccer. And I heard that BBC reporter say that Derby managed to snap a losing streak on the road. No. Leave that in Detroit, madam. They did not snap a losing streak on the road. We don't do on the road. We have away games. See, that's how irritable you get, don't you? When you're on a run like we're on at the moment. John Mousinho is asked if there's a sense of deja vu about that game.
Yeah, definitely. I think not so much with the Swansea game, although we did dominate that in the second half. Very similar to Hull, very similar to Sheffield United. Another performance that goes by where we we dominate the game. I know it was slightly different because Derby scored early today, but we got into some fantastic areas. We got the ball to our wide players, we got the ball into some crossing positions, we had set play after set play, but ultimately just didn't have enough quality at all to properly threaten Derby's goal. There's never a good time to concede a goal. We started the game well, we started the game on the front foot. Unfortunately, the goal comes from us just not. I think we should deal with the first ball a lot better. Headed back into a really dangerous area, and that if you look at some of the chances on the night, I think Smodic has put his foot through it, put the ball in the back of the net. When we've had those opportunities, we've either wasted them because of not being sort of technically on top of ourselves, or the goalkeeper's pulled off a good save. But I think in terms of the difference in front of goal, that was a sort of glaringly obvious difference between the two teams. It was. We don't want to concede goals at any time, but conceding a goal that early on, okay, let's stay calm, stay positive, make sure we keep doing the right things, and for the most part we did. I thought that it wasn't a game then, but that became us really struggling to create opportunities or create openings. I thought we got onto Derby's back line relentlessly. I thought we got into some really good areas, but from there, that was where I thought we let ourselves down with some of the decision making and some of the quality that we had in the final third. I thought Jacob led the line pretty well, to be honest. Had that opportunity with the header from the cross on the right early on, and I'll have to obviously assess it and watch the game back tonight, and it's difficult in the moment. There's times when you have a lot of the ball and don't create anything, or don't get into good areas. You don't have enough, I suppose, impetus to go from the middle third to the final third. That's the frustrating thing for me, and that's what I've obviously got to solve. Is that we are getting into these areas. We're getting into these areas regardless of who we've got at the top end of the pitch. We're not producing enough when we do that. Whether it's when a good cross comes in, we're not quite on the end of it. Otherwise, it's a poor cross out the back of the goal, or it's blocked, or we make the wrong decision. So that's really the crux of the game at the minute, is that we have to take all of those opportunities and just be miles better with them and increase the pressure on opposition goal. It's exactly that. It's everything I've just described there. That we're dominating games. We're not getting blown away, but ultimately we're coming away losing games. We haven't got that killer instinct in the box. We haven't got that killer instinct out wide at the moment. When we have set plays, we deliver them. I don't think we've quite got the belief to go and get on the end of a corner, get on the end of a long throw. Like I said, that's the difference in the two sides.
Mick Robertson today calls for courage, even from the doom and gloom merchants.
Those people who just want to distance themselves from the pain and problems by claiming that they know best and knew it all the time. The know-alls. There'll be plenty of time for the know-alls, and I'll join them at the season end. But that's the time to dissect the season and everyone's influence on it then. But for now, there are 27 points to play for. A third of those could keep us safe. Nil Desperandum. Sounders, I know most of you speak Latin. Don't conk out yet. There's still time for heroes to emerge. Play out, Pompey.
To lose one game at home when you've largely dominated but can't score is unfortunate. To lose 3 out of 4 is a very worrying pattern. Potentially the most damning thing was Derby's game plan. They seemed content to sit back and defend in the knowledge they could keep Pompey at bay and get a goal from a counter-attack or a set-piece. They were right. They hit the post and bar as well as scoring their goal. There's no lack of effort from Portsmouth, but there's a clear lack of quality in the final third. A change of striker with Jacob Brown in for Colby Bishop didn't change much. They are outside the relegation zone but in the worst form of the 5 teams battling to stay up. They are heading in the wrong direction. It's a big few days ahead for John Mousinho as he searches for solutions which are anything but obvious.
They are in the worst form of all the teams in the absolute danger zone. And that is my worry, because way back when I was a boy living in London, next door to a family called the Messinos. The nearest team to me was Fulham, and so I started going along when I was about 12, I think, and became a die-hard Fulham fan. But the first 3 seasons that I went to every home game, Fulham were in the bottom 2. Back in those days, it was the bottom 2 who were automatically relegated. Fulham were almost permanently in the bottom 2 throughout the season. And the first 2 seasons, they survived. And I remember with absolute clarity, and I believe this hasn't changed, the thing that kept them up in those 2 seasons was that they managed to come good with 4 or 5 games to go and got some momentum and started to believe in themselves. And there was one great occasion when Fulham were playing the side that were 2 points above them in the relegation area. Fulham was second to bottom. That was Northampton, would you believe, in the Premier League, but these things happen. And Fulham had to go there on a Saturday afternoon with just 1 game coming up after that Northampton game, and they had to get something. And they were 2-1 down with an hour gone, and that looked like it. And then all of a sudden, this fellow, who funnily enough was born and brought up round the corner from me and the Messino family in this place called Feltham, he scored a hat-trick. And the second 2 goals, which kept Fulham up that season, were scored in the 89th and 90th minute. The one in the 90th minute was a solo run. He dribbled round 4 or 5 players and put it in the net. And when you've got that confidence, because you've been on the move, you've picked up a point here and a point there away from home, you've won your home games, all of a sudden you can see that the great escape is possible. And we need to start singing the great escape at Fratton Park, but we need to have a reason for it. We can't sing the great escape when we're 1-0 down after 8 minutes, because there is no escape committee putting together some plans. There is no tunnels called Tom, Dick and Harry at the moment. We need that. We need one good performance and a good result. As Mick Robertson is saying elsewhere on this news bulletin, chins up, lads. Nil desperandum, he says, sarcastically pointing out that most Pompey supporters speak Latin. Anyway, we need momentum. And Andrew Moon, I think, being BBC, skirts around the nitty-gritty of the issue diplomatically and professionally, because that's what he's like and that's what he does. We need to get going.